So number one, a person needs to attend at least 4 months before working with kids or youth. If they are not members of Maplewood, they need to sign a doctrinal statement yearly. There will be an application and meet with the coordinator over the area you will work in. When they do need to be supervised by someone that can observe and report to the coordinator leader over that area. A couple of things. One, we just want to get to know people before they start working with kids. We don't want somebody who comes in and intends to do harm to be able to have easy access to that. The reason for the doctrinal statement is some of those people will be teaching kids ministry classes, maybe to one of the 2 levels of kids. We don't want them teaching something that's heretical, so we would have them sign a doctrinal statement if they're not a member. As a member, you sign the doctrinal statement and that kind of stuff. The application was Brenda's idea, just to have someone brand new fill that out. So you guys don't have to do any of that stuff. You've been here long enough, all that. So background checks. Background checks need to be performed before anyone over 18 works with kids or youth. Every 5 years, we'll probably redo these. So we have a list in Planning Center, which is the software that we use to track everything that we submit through Checker, basically background checks. So if you haven't had a background check, just shoot an email to the office at Maplewood Church1965.org, and they'll get a background check for you. 2 people rule. There should never be a time that one person is left alone with kids or youth. There must always be 2 people present. Youth volunteers helping should be 7th grade or older. So some of the nursery, kids ministry classes, that kind of stuff, we have 7th graders and older that can be in there that basically count as a second person, okay? Parents, grandparents can bring their own kids, but not someone else's. So we don't want people bringing kids that are not supposed to be in that class into that class with them if they're not related to them. So if you bring your kids or your grandkids with and you want them to be in class because you're teaching that day, that's fine. Somebody else's kids, we don't want that. So we want them to be in either the grade that they're supposed to be in, or we want them with their parents in the service or whatever else is going on.
So do you have a list of the younger kids that will, is there like a schedule like there is for the adults?
Yes, so like based on nursery, other age groups, like preschool, the coordinators are working with that.
Okay.
So like Laura, doing nursery, she's partnering up basically an adult with a teenager every week. And so those are all on the schedule.
Because I've had kids, like one of the Molten girls had asked if she could come down and help her online when we were in the K1-2 class.
Yeah.
So it's okay with your mom, but so that's not permitted then?
No, we're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna move away from
So
that.
there should be a list though of the young person's gonna be in that class too?
Yes, if there's not 2 adults scheduled in it, then there's gonna
I'm just
be.
thinking if someone has to go to the bathroom, and somebody has to take that one, then you might have an adult by themselves.
I'll get to that in a second. We'll explain it. Yep. So the 2-person rule is not just to protect the kids; it's to protect you guys. It just takes a kid making an accusation one time and saying, "Hey, this person touched me, or they hit me, or they called me this," and it creates real issues. So we want to make sure that you're doing that. Questions on any of those first 3? No? Okay. Kids or youth should not be left unsupervised alone, especially if it's just 2 kids youth. So we've talked about an adult and a kid. Now we're talking about 2 kids left alone. No teenagers making out in the youth room or anything like that. We're trying to kind of avoid those situations. So 5, follow the check-in and check-out procedures. They exist for the safety of the kids. Only parents should pick up their kids. This was of great consternation to some because they want to send a younger sibling or they want to send someone else and that kind of stuff. And we're like, the problem is with the system that we're going to, which is a tag system, which has the parent's picture on there and who is okay to pick that kid up. It gets really difficult if it's someone outside of that circle, and so we just limited it to parents for now. Okay? For now, going into the future.
So should, not must.
Okay, don't nitpick my words. Lawyer in my class. Kids should not go to the bathroom with a solo adult. As much as possible, kids should go by themselves with an adult outside the bathroom. Workers may check the bathroom first to make sure no one is in there. Parents are encouraged to take their kids to the bathroom before dropping them off. So this is how it works. If you're downstairs in what used to be the boat room, the bathrooms are right outside the door. There's a person in the classroom, the other person stands in the doorway, can see outside and inside, you're fine. If you're upstairs and you're in the preschool or you're in the other classroom, Same thing. One leader is in the classroom, the other person stands in the doorway, watches the kid go to the bathroom, come back to the bathroom. If you're ever over here, you can kind of, if you're on this side, you can watch the kids go down, go to the bathroom, come back, that kind of stuff. So that way you're not leaving the person alone there and doing it, but you can kind of keep an eye on the kid and make sure that they get there and that they come back and that kind of stuff. So any other questions on it? Does that answer your question from before? Okay. Changing diapers should only happen with 2 people in the room. Only females should change diapers unless it's the father of that child. So when there are people in the nursery, it should be primarily females that are doing the diaper changing and that kind of stuff, okay?
Does that apply to taking the child to the restroom? No males, or what?
No, we're not saying that. This was something specifically for nursery with diapers and that kind of stuff. I mean, the preschoolers are probably the exception where there might need to be somebody that goes. I would say the same gender of that kid. So if it's a boy that's going, maybe there's a male leader that can go with them. If it's a girl, probably the female leader. I would say stick with the
Right.
So emergency preparedness training in CPR and first aid is a good thing to do at least once. We put every 5 years. Some people would say if you're going to be actually certified in it, it's every 2. We're not asking that. We want people to be up somewhat on CPR and first aid and that kind of stuff. So we will probably offer a class at some point this fall, maybe offer one in the spring if people want to go through that or they want to refresh that and that kind of stuff. The AED machine for adult use only is in the gym. So when you come into the entryway to the gym downstairs, on the left-hand side on the wall is the AED machine. So we've talked about getting a second one, but we would rather, when the person runs across, because it happens in a service, they run across and run back, then we're going to have to shock 2 people because someone's going to have a second heart attack. So, but no, we may eventually look at getting a second one. We just haven't done that at this point.
Are the locations of the first aid kits?
So no, that's one of the things that we're updating right now is there are not actually first aid kits in every classroom, and so we're getting those and putting those in. When we get to some of the building safety stuff, there's not maps right now for where you would go if there was someone trying to break into the building. There's, for the most part, most of the classrooms have fire or tornado, but we need to make sure that those are in all the classrooms. So those are a couple of things that we're updating right now. Yep. Questions on anything between 4 and 8?
Can I go back to one?
Yeah.
The one about when parents picking up, because we often have siblings or a friend saying, I'm gonna take this one too.
Yeah.
So we just tell them no, they have to get their parent. And if they're,
Because the parents are going to have to tag. So basically this is not for the 2 older age groups right now on Sunday mornings. But in Sunday school, in preschool and nursery, parents are going to have a tag. I think they're eventually going to work for that other group and get the tag and that kind of stuff. Like they would basically will put it somewhere probably in the sanctuary. They grab the tag, the kid has it. We've talked about clipping it on the kid, or if it's nursery, you clip it on the diaper bag. So that way you've got a picture of the kid, you got a picture of the parents, you know who's coming to pick them up. You have their phone number on that tag in case there's a problem with the kid. Allergies are on the tag, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's going to be parents who pick it up because parents are going to be the only ones allowed to grab that tag.
and that will be, the congregation will know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, pretty much all the majority of the parents have gone through this training. We'll send it out again. We'll highlight it probably at the next business meeting again. So yeah, we're gonna, because the 2 biggest rules are probably parents need to pick up their kids and the 2-person rule. Like when we've talked about stuff, those are 2 things that just need to happen for safety wise. Because the problem is a kid comes and grabs their sibling and then they take them out to the playground and the parents don't know that they're there, or they run through the parking lot or something like that. There's just too many things, too many variables. So 9, accident reporting. If someone is hurt at a Maplewood ministry or event, it must be reported to the parents and coordinator leader. Person who witnessed the accident should fill out an accident report. We're revising that report and we'll have that and have access to all ministries. So we'll send those to the ministry leaders. They basically turn it in the office or the pastor just so that we know what happened and that kind of stuff. And I'm not talking about like a scratch on the leg. I'm talking about like they bang their head pretty hard and we think maybe, or they like open up their knee or something like that, or something that needs stitches, you know, a kind of serious kind of injury or something like that. We would want an accident report filled out. And then the coordinator leader will forward the information to the pastor and elders just so that we know about it and we know what's going on and that kind of stuff. So, food and allergies, beware the kids/youth with allergies. If kids are sick, we encourage parents to keep them home or with them. If someone has a fever over 100.4, they shouldn't be at church activities. That's always been a rule, but parents don't always follow that rule. Sometimes they bring their kids, snotty noses, you know, fevers, that kind of stuff, and so we're trying to avoid some of that. Photographs are not allowed unless parents have signed off on waivers. We're going to work on a yearly form for this, and it's basically going to be an opt-out question. So basically it says, let us know if you don't want your kid to have pictures taken. So, you know, VBS, and we're taking pictures, and it goes on Facebook that week to promote it, or tonight, the event that we have, basically if we have parents fill out a form once a year, and then it covers everything. It covers Awana, it covers VBS, it covers kids ministry on Sunday mornings and that kind of stuff. And then we just need to let you know, hey, in Sunday school we're not taking pictures, so it's not as big a deal, or like even in kids ministry, but if we wanted to at some point, and those parents don't want the kids' pictures on there, we're just trying to be respectful of that. Questions on 9 through 12.
Will there be a list of allergies in the classrooms? Kids have?
So it's on the tags, but I think we're also going to create a list that has allergies on there and stuff. So
another question about that, around snack time?
yeah,
So if my kid's in a class and they have peanut allergies, do I send a snack with them that they can have? Or
that would probably be a question for Brenda and like what they've done before. I don't know how many kids we have that have peanut allergies. Like there are some that are allergic to animals. A previous church, we had a kid that was allergic to bananas.
There's a lot of gluten stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of gluten stuff, and so what we probably need to do is look at the different age groups that we have on Sunday mornings, and figure out, okay, how many kids do we have that have this allergy, and then provide snacks that are okay for
Yeah, I
them.
agree.
So would be the goal. All right, any other questions on any of those? Okay. 13, building safety. The deacons are responsible for building safety in the event of a storm, fire, tornado. Follow the plans posted in your room. If someone is trying to get in the buildings, the deacons will also monitor and stop that. So new camera system is going to go in here pretty soon to be able to see outside and that kind of stuff. And then probably there's going to be a deacon that has an iPad that can see all the cameras, that kind of stuff. As we talk about putting in the new building and building that, there's going to be cameras probably in the classrooms too, because then there's no opportunity or a very difficult opportunity for someone to do something with a kid in a classroom, that kind of stuff. So follow the plans, but basically the goal would be what we'll have posted on those, and it may be a temporary thing. It might be something attached to the plans, but there'll be a contact, and so someone you can text or call really quick that's in the service that says, hey, somebody's trying to get in. One of the things that we're doing now is after the first 10 minutes of the service, that door to the kids ministry building is going to be locked. The downstairs doors get locked after Sunday school, and so there's no access other than the 2 doors in the sanctuary. Someone has to come through the sanctuary. So parents, it's easy. You just go down the back steps and go through and go to your kid rather than going outside. But it limits access to people trying to get into the kids ministry building and that kind of stuff. So we're trying to do a little bit of that. In an emergency, if you think there's someone breaking in or you see somebody with a weapon, you call 911 and then call the deacon. That's responsible. But first and foremost is probably to get your kids to a safer area. So like if you're in the nursery, you maybe take them into that back room, and lock the doors. One of the things that we're looking at is being able to lock from the inside to provide a little bit more safety and security, and probably also wedges. So one of the things that you can do is put a wedge under a door. It makes it really hard to get in. Because if we put, like, Applewood has these, but those are relatively easy to break open. A wedge is a little bit harder, and so we'll probably do both of those. Questions on the building safety?
Will they post like Deacon's numbers in each classroom or whoever?
Yeah, with
Is it,
the fire stuff. So the fire stuff is gonna be laminated and put in there, fire, tornado, emergency, where you should go. And then I'm thinking that number is gonna change. I don't think it's always gonna be like, it couldn't always be Scott,
Right.
chairman of the Deacons, because there are times he's in Alaska, or he's on vacation or something like that. So there are gonna be times where it's gonna be a different number. But we're gonna try and keep that number up there. We're gonna have the coordinators work on that. 14, ideally we'll have one person who will float between rooms on Sunday mornings to monitor things and be an observer outside the classroom. They can also help with discipline or other issues. So this person won't necessarily be there the entire hour, going from classroom to classroom. It might just be a spot check. Coordinator might come down 15 minutes into the into the kids being there and check on a room, check on another room, check on another room. It just provides some, ideally if we had somebody that could be there the entire time floating from classroom to classroom, that's good. Just to check and make sure that things, nothing inappropriate's happening and that kind of stuff, but also as a resource. So we're talking about that one and what that looks like. 15, before we get into 15, any questions on 14? No? All right. 15, spotting physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Keep in mind some of these can be seen because of divorce, family death, pet death, problems at school, or other anxiety-inducing issues. I'm not going to read through the entire list, but basically, some of these things you would see, some of these things you would not. It'd be what a parent sees. But signs more typical of younger children, signs more typical in adolescents, physical signs. There are all different kinds of signs that you're looking for when it comes to physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, okay? All of these would result in 16. So basically, if you saw a kid that you thought, okay, man, there's bruises all over him, and he said he fell down the stairs, but it just doesn't seem like that. Reporting physical, emotional, and sexual abuse or neglect. If you believe that a kid, youth is being abused in any way, talk with the coordinator leader, and they will immediately take appropriate action with you, basically according to mandatory reporting and legal requirements. This can be reported online, and there's the web page for it, or you can call. The coordinator leader will contact the pastor and inform them what is going on. So we don't want to get in the way of you reporting it, but we don't want you to just, sometimes you can misread signs, and so that's why we want you to, if a teacher in a classroom, we would want you to get with the coordinator and just have a conversation with them about, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Are they seeing the same thing? You make that phone call that day, right away. And then the coordinator would let the elders or me know, hey, we made this phone call because we think this is what's going on and that kind of stuff. So we're not trying to stand in the way. We want to make sure that at least one, if not two people are seeing the same kind of things and observing that and that kind of stuff. So when you do that, there's basically, if you go to that web page, it tells you what you need to have beforehand. You do it anonymously, you don't have to, you put your name in there, but that's not told to the family or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about them coming back at you. But basically, working with kids, even in a church, we're mandatory reporters if we think that there's abuse going on. And so you need to look at it and stuff. Questions on that one? 17, sexually oriented conversations. There should be no conversations with kids about sex. If the youth are going to cover this topic in a meeting, the parents must be notified first. If a kid brings it up, let the parents know. This is really focused on adults starting conversations with kids or youth about sex, okay? If you're talking about a Bible passage and you're talking about homosexuality, that's not what we're talking about, or something within Scripture. What we're talking about is child abusers groom children, and they do that partially by having conversations with them about things. And so what we're trying to avoid is someone going to a kid and doing that. If a kid comes to a youth leader and says, hey, I got a question about this, and asks a question, then the youth leader should probably loop back around and talk with the parent and just say, hey, we had this conversation, this is what happened, and loop the parents into that and stuff. So Nudity of kids, youth, and adults should not happen at church or on activities. If the activity requires changing, swimming, then people should change by themselves in a bathroom, so that's pretty straightforward. If any of these policies is broken by someone, it requires a conversation with the leadership of the ministry and potentially with the elders and the pastor. If it is serious enough, it could result in not being allowed to work with kids, youth for a period of time or not at all. Situations will be reported to the police and the Pettis County Children's Division as required. So if we ever found somebody abusing, we're not keeping it to ourselves. We're going to report that and do the right thing. You guys know, I don't know, maybe you guys know, but so Southern Baptist churches have gone through a whole thing over the last few years where their executive committee basically said when churches would come and report to them, hey, this person is a child abuser or they did this, they would say, listen, we don't want to hear the details because we don't want to be liable for it. They were concerned about the liability on the Southern Baptist denomination. That should never happen. We're going to do what's right, and we're going to report it, and we're going to take care of it. Whether that's reporting that a kid has been abused or whether we think it's an adult has done something, we're not keeping that to ourselves. We're not going to proclaim it from the pulpit, but we are going to report it to the right people. Their leadership is going to get involved in it and deal with it in the right way. So. Last one, no one over 18 should be texting, Snapchat, use social media, or any other form of communication with individual kids or individual youth. If communicating with a kid or youth, copy their parents in on it or do it as a group. This avoids one-on-one stuff that, hidden messages, even instant messenger with kids and that kind of stuff. Just copy the parents in on it if you're texting them. Youth, when they send stuff out to youth group, they use Remind. They're sending it out to all the kids. That's not an issue. What we're talking about is really when you're talking about, direct messaging or texting or Snapchatting, which disappears afterwards. A kid, we don't want that happening individually. If you're doing a group and you've got the parents copied in there, that's fine. But we're just trying to avoid the individual one-on-one conversations that you have with kids and that kind of stuff. So, all right, questions on anything?